Numbers chapter 11, verses 4 through 6. Now the rabble that was among them had a strong craving, and the people of Israel also wept again and said, Oh, that we had meat to eat. We remember the fish we ate in Egypt that cost nothing, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now our strength is dried up, and there is nothing at all but this manna to look at. I must admit, I have a sweet tooth. Occasionally, I have a craving for either homemade chocolate chip cookies or cinnamon buns. Those are my two favorites. And uh, when I was younger, I used to partake in these things with not much difficulty, but today I have to curb the craving so that I can continue to fit in my trousers. So we must be careful to keep our cravings in check. Here the people of Israel complained that all they had was manna to eat, and they craved meat. Their fond recollection of food in Egypt had some serious implications, and this implied that they would rather be in Egyptian bondage than free from bondage and walking with the Lord towards the promised land. Now, this complaint also implied that they were not satisfied with the Lord's provision for them. He provided the manna to keep them going. And how often do we act the same way as the people of Israel? Christ has delivered us who have believed from our bondage to sin, yet sometimes our flesh craves the things from which the Lord has delivered us. If we're not careful, we can allow ourselves to think back to those times when we indulged in the flesh, and we can think back to those times with fondness for them. The Bible teaches us that Jesus is the manna from heaven, the bread of life. And by partaking of Jesus by faith, we have partaken of the bread of life. And thus we now have abundant life in Him, and that He is all that we truly need. And just as Israel craved its former ways because they were dissatisfied with God's provision of manna, for us to crave the former ways of bondage is contrary to faith in Christ. You see, we must be careful to reject such sinful cravings and consider the blessings of God's grace in our life.